Breaking news this morning. Liverpool have agreed a fee to purchase Thiago Alcantara from Bayern Munich. It's understood to be in the region of £30 million, as reported firstly this morning by The Athletic. One of the journalists from The Athletic is Simon Hughes, and he is with us now. Simon, I presume this crashed your website today.
I think it did, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of contact going backwards and forwards from London and America at the moment, trying to figure it out, but I think they've sorted that problem now.
So what is the current situation?
Yeah, well, obviously Monday morning, it's sort of accelerated since then. Liverpool have obviously sort of taken the time over this deal. But I think part of that really is down to the fact that Thiago's been on holiday. So essentially they would have been signing a player who wasn't going to be available to train or play for quite a long period of time anyway. I think he'd had reassurances off the players' representatives that he was obviously very keen on coming to Liverpool. And at the start of this week, Bayern made it clear to Liverpool that they wanted to get a deal done quickly because their Bundesliga season starts tomorrow night at home against Schalke. So that sort of prompted Liverpool to get things moving a bit quicker. So yeah, over the last 48 hours, things have progressed, and then this morning they've agreed a deal between 27 million euros and 30 million euros. It depends what your your currency conversions like, but yeah, it's in that region.
How much of a race for Thiago was this? There were some suggestions that Manchester United were also in the hunt.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've been told, I'm not really sure United were. They've obviously signed Donny van de Beek this summer. They signed Bruno Fernandes not so long ago, who are two midfield players, and they've already pretty well stocked in midfield. I think it was a player who obviously interested them, because who wouldn't be interested in a player of this Thiago's ability? But I do wonder whether some of that was just possibly a bit of power play from Bayern to try and provoke Liverpool a little bit into doing something. All the way through the summer, really. I mean, I've been pretty convinced that this deal would get done. It was just a case of a bit of patience and understanding, the delicacy of a unique situation which both clubs find themselves in. There was a willingness on the players' part. There was a willingness on Liverpool's part to sign him. There's a willingness on Bayern to let him go. So when you've got those three parties agreeing, eventually the deals do tend to get done.
What sort of wages are we talking here, Simon? Because I guess there has been some talk about perhaps Klopp making a real exception for Thiago. I mean, with the age profile, with the transfer fee, and his qualities kind of are the exception to the rule. Will there be an exception in terms of wage structure? Will he be one of the highest paid players?
I don't think Liverpool will be smashing the wage structure for him. I don't think that makes any sense on any level, but based around the way the club runs financially. I think he'll be very highly paid. He'll be amongst the elite earners. But from what I've been told, Thiago, he obviously earns a lot of money anyway, and he's this decision. He could have stayed at Bayern Munich for longer. I believe in May he'd almost agreed a deal to stay, and then he sort of had second thoughts when contacted from Liverpool came. He sort of realised that he'd achieved everything that he could at Bayern, and then winning the Champions League just sort of reinforced that view. So he's coming to Liverpool because he wants to be successful. He wants to play in the Premier League, and he wants to play for the best team in the Premier League, I guess. And it's one area of the pitch where I suppose Liverpool can improve, really. I mean, I think that midfield area over the last couple of seasons has been absolutely fantastic. I think the amount of running the midfield does is incredible. I think he can do that, but he can do a bit more as well. So he's an improvement. People have been asking for a long time, how do Liverpool improve that team? I think, well, they have. San Thiago improves not just the team but the squad straight away.
Who drops out of that midfield if you were picking your starting 11 now?
Yeah, it's a tricky one because Klopp has been he's changed the midfield a lot, throughout the course of every season. As the season goes on, you seldomly see the midfield stay the same midfield. 3 games on the bounce. It's the one area where he doesn't mind changing it a bit because he knows how much energy is expended in that area of the pitch. So, I think he'll obviously come in and definitely be one of the main men in there. Just be interested to see how he adjusts to a shift in system, I suppose, because Liverpool play slightly differently to Bayern Munich, and it's a 4-3-3 compared to a 4-2-3-1. But Thiago's played that way for Barcelona before. I don't think he's going to struggle to adapt. At the moment, it was quite interesting seeing Klopp's selection at the weekend. Obviously, he left Fabinho out, which I was surprised because he tends to play all the big games. He always seems to be the main man in there. But I think that immediately you've got to question Keita a little bit. I think he played at the weekend and didn't do particularly well. He was taken off. He's meant to be that sort of creative hub. He was the player who was brought in to provide those passes. But unfortunately, I just think that his body hasn't allowed him to. He's been injured. Sorry, my phone's going off. Yeah. His body hasn't allowed him to do that. So I wonder over the next sort of couple of weeks whether his situation might change a little bit. But that's just me being speculative there. Obviously people know about Gini Wijnaldum and his contract situation. I think a lot depends on sort of what Barcelona can do in the transfer market, because they've got players that they need to sell before they can buy as well. And Liverpool aren't going to let him to go at this stage for nothing. Because he's a very important player. I'd be very sad to see him go, because I think he's another world-class player. It'd be a shame to see him go, but you've got to give Liverpool credit here, I think, because clearly if he is going to go for nothing in next summer, they've been proactive in replacing him. They've got a player who's definitely on the same level of him, as him, if not above, and is going to go straight into the team and have an impact.
Is your gut feeling that Wijnaldum will be a Liverpool player at the end of this window?
Well, I think obviously there are other players that Liverpool have got who are up for sale. Liverpool, not to the Athletic, but it seems to other media organisations this morning have made it clear that he isn't being brought in as a replacement for Wijnaldum, which I thought was quite interesting. So I think that there are other players who Liverpool would like to sell ahead of Wijnaldum. Marco Grujic is another midfielder who's had numerous loans. I think before the pandemic, I think Liverpool were confident of getting at least 20 million for him. Harry Wilson's another player who, again, a British player who would have, in normal circumstances, they've got a decent fee for. So I think there are other players that Liverpool could sell. Of course, Ryan Brewster, there's been a lot of talk about his future and where he fits in, and I think I've seen quite a lot of him, and I think he would benefit from a full season playing Premier League football and proving himself that he's capable of doing it. I don't think there's any harm in that. So Liverpool were able to negotiate a deal where they did have a buyback clause. I think it'd be very far-sighted, but that sort of deal is quite unusual in the Premier League. So we'll see whether they're able to negotiate that one.
A final one then, Simon. How excited should Liverpool fans be for the signing of Thiago?
Yeah, I think it's the biggest sign that Liverpool have made in a long time. I know people will point towards Virgil van Dijk and Alisson Becker because of the fees, but they're signing a player who's a Champions League winner, who's will pretty much do everything is to win in the game. They're not signing a player who's over the hill. They're signing a player who's right at the peak of his game. He was the best player on the pitch in the Champions League final a couple of months ago. So it's a major sign, and I think it's a real statement from Liverpool that they're going to go for the title again this season. And I think straight away it increases that possibility. I think at that price for a player of that ability, I think it's exactly what Liverpool need at the moment, to be honest. Because how do you improve a team that's already achieved everything that it wants to achieve, and in terms of trophies, not in terms of dominance, but that's how you go and dominate leagues. So you sign better players than you've already got, and he's one of the few players in the world, I think, who will improve not only the team but the squad.
Well, the story was up first on The Athletic this morning. Simon Hughes of The Athletic, thanks a million for taking the call.